Here's Johnny.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like on this video. I would very much appreciate it. Well, guys, I first want to start by saying it's really great to be back. It's been a few weeks since I put up a video because I have been on vacation. But as you can see, today I've got a 1/6 scale figure review for you. And in front of me, you can see I have the Jack Torrance by Present Toys from The Shining. Now, there was a release from Present Toys about a couple years ago. This one definitely looks to be much improved. I can't wait to show it off to you guys. But before we get started, of course, as always, let's take a quick look at the packaging here. As you can see, we have a very neat looking image here of kind of the two sides of Jack Torrance on the front there. Definitely very cool looking indeed. As we move towards the bottom here, it does say Jack Torrance by Present Toys, 1/6 scale collectible figure. On the bottom, it says Jack Torrance as well, just like on the front. On the side, that image just kind of carries over to the side that you see on the front. And on the back, you have all of your special fancy warning text. You guys can pause and read that. And then we have an image here of Jack with his signature axe there. But now, as always, guys, let's take the foam inserts out of the packaging and we'll take a closer look at how it arrives to you when it lands on your doorstep. Okay, now upon opening the box and removing the top foam cover, this is what you are greeted with. Of course, I did take the plastic off of the sculpts. But now, without further ado, guys, let me take all the accessories and the figure out of the box and we'll take a closer look at all of the details. Well, believe it or not, these are all the accessories here laid out in front of us. But of course, now let's take a closer look at each accessory individually. Do you hear that? Well, guys, unfortunately, starting off with the hands, as you can see, you guys know my rule of thumb. I'd like to see at least 8 total hands included with the figure. Unfortunately, with this one, we have 4 extras, 2 pre-installed on the figure. Of course, we'll take a look at the ones pre-installed later. I do want to start by saying, though, I do think the paint apps are actually pretty decent on this one. Previously on the channel, my most recent Present Toys review, I did review Tony Montana, and I wasn't really enthused by the paint job on that. I thought it was really under par compared to what I've seen recently from Present Toys. I'm happy to say I think this is right on par with the quality that you can expect from Present Toys at their best. I think that overall they did a good job here. It might not be picking up on camera. There's some rosiness around the knuckles. There's a bit of depth to that paint as we get a little bit closer. You can kind of see it there on camera. Overall, I think these are painted pretty decently. I apologize for the random cut. I was talking and a plane just decided to fly over my house, so you couldn't hear me at all. But what I was saying was the choice of hands is very interesting. As you can see, we do have 2 hands kind of mirrored on both sides to grip the axe. However, this hand here almost looks to me like it was a shooting hand from another figure, and they just kind of reused this. It's definitely very interesting. This one is also very similar as well, as you could see. Again, wish they would have included a couple more options for hands. However, I am glad that they're at least painted decently enough, and I'll find out if they are good enough to hold the axe towards the end of this video. And here we have our display stand. Now, although very basic, I am glad that Present Toys decides to add a bit of color and a bit of flavor to their display bases, and it's not just plain black. As you can see, we have that shining house carpet there, looking really cool with the blood spatters and Jack Torrance in the middle. Definitely basic, but overall it has a nice look to it. And of course, this does come with your typical crotch grabber. It's just not obviously installed on the stand in the video. Okay, and as you can see, next we have our letters here. They did an okay enough job at making it look like weathered paper, as you see in the film. If you look close enough, you can read it. It's very difficult to read in person, so I imagine on camera it's equally as difficult. But as you can see, it's overall decently done. I will probably never use these in my display, but it's definitely cool to see that it's included. Next, we have a very cool accessory. If you've seen the film, you know, towards the end of the film, this mysterious photo pops up here from 1921, but it's mysterious because we see Jack Torrance in this photo. Definitely very cool that Present Toys included this. It's a nice quality print. The frame itself is actual wood, so if you flip it around to the back, you can see that it is actual black wood. So this is really, really cool. I'm definitely a big fan of this. Again, this may be something that you have in the display on the floor or something, but I don't know if I would ever have my figure pose with it. Next, as you can see, we have our little glass of whiskey or bourbon. I can't remember exactly what it was in the film. It actually looks really good. As you can see, there's some colored resin in there to mimic that alcohol in the glass. It's clear, it's see-through, it looks really nice. Not much to say about it, but this is really, really cool. Next, we have, in my opinion, the most iconic accessory. This is the famous axe that he uses to chop down that door in that scene that everybody knows. This is really cool, guys. The handle is actual wood. Love to see that. And believe it or not, the axe head is real metal, and it's a nice, like, brushed metal there. It looks really, really good. I don't feel like the die cast is too heavy, like it weighs it down or anything. I think it's pretty decently balanced, all things considered. This is really cool. There's really not much detail to the handle. I haven't compared on-screen photos to see if it's accurate or not. But of course, because this is real wood, if it's the wrong color or something, you can always stain it to your liking. But definitely really surprising to see it in die-cast, and I think that's really cool. I do believe the first version of Jack from Present Toys had a die-cast axe as well. But if I remember correctly, that one was very shiny, whereas this one has that brushed metal look. So definitely very nicely done overall. And last but certainly not least, we have our alternate head sculpt. This is the Here's Johnny head sculpt. This is really, really cool, guys. Honestly, in the prototype photos, it looked extremely derpy. It may have a bit of derpiness to it, but honestly, it's pretty close to what he looks like in the scene. I think it's a pretty decent head sculpt overall. Also, I like to add, just like the hands, I think it's pretty nicely painted. Does the hair look a little bit flat? Sure. But overall, the skin texture looks pretty fantastic. I definitely see Jack Nicholson in this sculpt, and it's got that really sinister signature Jack Torrance look to it. I just think this is a really nice alternate head sculpt that I think some people will actually use because it looks pretty solid in person. Again, I totally understand on camera and in the prototype photos it looked a little derpy, but trust me when I say in person it's actually pretty decent. So definitely a big fan of this one, and I also like that they added some gloss to the teeth there, and they're also really nicely painted. There's no sloppiness to the paint or anything, and that's typically a difficult thing to do for a lot of these third-party companies. So bravo to Present Toys. I think they did a fantastic job on this sculpt and paint work. But now, guys, let's not hold you here any longer. Let me grab the figure, and we'll take a closer look at Jack Torrance by Present Toys and see what we think of him. Okay, now here we are with Jack Torrance by Present Toys, and as you can see, guys, I think he looks pretty darn good. If we look at the tailoring here as I turn him around, I think they did a great job at nailing those proportions of Jack Nicholson during this film. I think he looks really, really good. Now, of course, I'm going to get close up on the figure, and we'll get even closer on that head sculpt as well, but just looking at this like corduroy material here on the coat, if you look at old videos or photos of the original Present Toys Jack, you're going to see a huge, huge improvement from that release, I think just 2 years ago. Underneath, he does have that signature button-down shirt, and it looks really, really good. Of course, it's tucked into the pants like he has in the film, and we have that inside liner on this corduroy coat here, and it just looks really good, guys. Even the individual buttons and everything sewn on, I think they did a fantastic job. Now, I won't bore you any longer. Let's take a look at this head sculpt. Again, guys, just like that alternate sculpt, I'm very, very happy with the likeness to Jack Nicholson here. I think this looks pretty darn solid. The paint apps are really decent for Present Toys. Again, I think this is Present Toys at their best. Out of the most recent figures I've gotten from them, I think this has the strongest default head sculpt for sure. We will take more of a look around it. I'll get even closer. As you can see, the beard is really nicely painted, really nicely sculpted in there. This looks like Jack Nicholson, aka Jack Torrance. I think they did such a good job, especially in those eyes, nailing that sinister look there with the brows. I just think this looks really fantastic. And again, the paintwork is definitely exceptional when it comes to Present Toys. Unfortunately, along the hairline, as you can see, it gets a little sloppy there, but I'll definitely let them pass on that one, considering the rest of it looks pretty fantastic. Overall, I'm very, very happy with how this sculpt looks. I was very skeptical when seeing the prototype photos. I didn't know if it was going to be this good. I have a feeling this is probably a custom sculpt that they just recast. They do that very often. So if that is the case, whoever sculpted this, you did a fantastic job, and I'm sure they did the other sculpt as well. Moving down though, guys, back to the clothing, we do have a real metal belt buckle. There's no word if this is pleather or leather or anything like that. I don't believe I saw it on the listing when I checked. I imagine it's probably a better material than pleather because Present Toys is typically known for using better materials, but I don't want to assume that because I'm not sure. But it does feel like it's decent quality. It is a bit thin, but let's hope that it's not pleather because it looks pretty nice and I would hate for it to fall apart over time because I really like how well it's stitched. Moving down to the hands, guys, I told you I would show you the hands. As I suspected, they are kind of like open, relaxed hands. These are obviously good for cradling that axe as the offhand. Again, these are very nicely painted. I really have no complaints about that. Taking a look at the jeans, they are a little baggy, but I think that is pretty accurate to the film in terms of how they fit. Moving around though, really nicely stitched, great stitch work on the pockets, great stitch work on the hem along the side. Overall, just really nicely done. Now moving down to these kind of Timberland style work boots here, I think they look pretty good. They've got a decent amount of weathering on them. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how they look. If we pull it up, does he have socks on? No, he does not, so no socks under there. But overall, I think these are really nicely sculpted. Let's move down now to the tread. Really nicely done. Overall, again, I'm very, very happy with how this figure looks. I definitely think Present Toys brought their A game, and I really implore you guys to watch older reviews or take a look at older photos of their previous Jack Torrance release because I think this is just leaps and bounds better from what I can see. In terms of articulation, we'll run through that very quickly. With the head, you do have a full rotation very easily. Forward and backward, no issues there. The neck, of course, is built in, but it really doesn't limit the articulation too much. In terms of the shoulders, I imagine they will articulate very easily. Now, there is something I want to point out. As you can see, this shirt is popping open in the middle. These buttons actually aren't functional. There's no Velcro. There's a stitch at the top there holding the shirt together. That's a bit unfortunate. Definitely wish that those buttons actually worked or they put a piece of Velcro there. That might be a good mod for somebody because obviously when you put the arms up, you may not have them this high, but when you're posing the arms higher than usual, you may see that shirt pop open there in the middle. So definitely keep that in mind. In terms of articulating forward, really no limitation whatsoever. The joints are a little bit squeaky, guys, so keep that in mind. But overall, it doesn't affect articulation at all. Of course, we do have double jointed elbows, as we often do from Present Toys. Of course, that would be the same on both sides. The hands, of course, will rotate a full 360, and then you have that rocker ball joint to allow you to rock the hand whatever direction you want to. Very easy to do, no complaints there. Now let's take a look at the ab crunch. Really very little limitation there because of the type of clothing he's wearing. Just keep in mind, guys, you do have that shirt popping open there, so as you bend him down, it does pop open. I may have to put a piece of Velcro there. It would be very easy for me to do. In terms of the leg articulation, very squeaky, but the body honestly is not loose, which is definitely what I care more so about. Yours may be squeaky, so keep that in mind. The knee articulation, you can go beyond 90 very easily, and the joints are pretty tough there, so definitely no complaints about that. I think this is a decent enough body from Present Toys. And of course, the feet you can rock forward and backward. Side to side is very, very limited, and then rotation is very easy. So overall, this is not a bad body at all. I definitely think this is one of the better bodies included from Present Toys in recent history from the stuff that I have. But now, guys, as always, let me throw Jack Torrance in a couple poses, and I'll share my final thoughts, and we'll close out the video.
Well, I am very happy to say that I am totally pleased with what Present Toys put out with this figure. I think they did a fantastic job on the tailoring. The paint apps are up to par with some of their best work. And the head sculpts are very nicely done. Like I said, even that alternate sculpt with the open mouth, it looked a little goofy in the photos, but having it in person, I'm actually very pleased with it. Overall, if you guys are considering this one, I highly recommend picking it up. Instead of spending all that money on those expensive customs, you can get this for a very affordable price of around 170 USD shipped. I truly cannot sing enough praises about this figure. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I am out.